So introducing Roux Cilliers. I've known Roux for 10, 12 years now, I think. He's a very trusted partner of DocSmart, and MFSQL is a product that we are very, very enthusiastic about. I may have talked to some or all of you about it. Some of you already have it, and it is a very, very yeah, it's amazing what it can do. So I'll pass over to Roux to do the presentation, and I'll keep an eye on questions and things like that at the same time.
Excellent. Thank you, Trev. Let me share my screen so that I just show something on my side. I'll take Trev away there. So I may actually turn my camera off because it might just get in the way. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you. When I think about MFSQL Connector, and I think of all the interactions that I had with some of you, but with customers all over the world and resellers all over the world, then the one thing that stands really out for me is that it really enrich and liberate the MFiles metadata. You know, and that is what I set as the topic of this conversation. And what I would like to do is, I don't have a lot of slides. I'm just going to use it a little bit as an anchor. In essence, I want to talk a little bit about what is it. I appreciate that some of you have never heard maybe of MFSQL Connector, have maybe some quite some time ago had a presentation and have not yet connected really with it. And some of you actually are intense users of MFSQL Connector. It's a broad audience. But so I'm going to deal a little bit about MFSQL, what it is, and where does it come from. I want to touch on some new features, so hopefully the people that is already using it will find some of that interesting, and that I will be talking about some things that you've never heard or seen before. So that would be good. And I'm going to sort of skip between my slide presentation and hands-on practical showing you stuff. So bear with me. It is prepared, but it is live, and I'm going to move around. So that is the style that I would like to have. Trev have invited you to ask questions throughout. I'm very happy with that. So please feel free with that. If you want to let me focus on a particular area, feel free to that. Graham, I'm not going to see people raising their hands, so if you basically can just alert me and just interrupt me anytime to convey any people that wants to have my attention. So
no problem.
Am I right in saying that we have basically an hour to work around? Is that correct? Is that what has been set as an aim, or was it shorter, longer? You know, what is the time frame?
I think 45, 50 minutes. Yeah, would be good.
Okay.
And Graham's changed the settings so that people can turn their cameras on and unmute and ask questions as well. So that's all good. Okay,
fantastic. So with that, let me just answer the big question: what is MFSQL Connector? And I want to start off by saying this tool actually aims at businesses that really want to get the most out of their vault, out of the information that they have in MFiles, and also all of this other systems in their business. It is a tool set. It is not a specific application. And try to explain that is that if I, for instance, look at something, an interface between MFiles and Microsoft CRM, it's an application that is targeted at a specific use. It understands the technologies of both the recipient and the target, and it is designed for that particular application. MFSQL Connector is a framework. It is tools that allows you to do a lot of things, but at its core, it basically ties M files with SQL Server. And that is the important part. And it really puts the power of SQL Server into your hands so that you can effectively use SQL Server, the power of SQL Server. It's a very dynamic and advanced data management capability, and that allows you now to interact with M files. And the caveat is without having to resort to any API development, without .NET development, with using the M files APIs. Why? Because we've already used all of the APIs to actually develop this application to make it available to you for your use. And because of the fact that it's a framework, it really provides much more flexibility, much fuller control in terms of how, what, and where you transfer information, use the information, and actually work between M files and your other critical systems, or just in M files. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be integration, but it is all about the managing and working with the M files data in relation to other needs. What does this product offer? Yes, it offers the power of SQL. That to me is at the heart of it. And therefore, if you're an organization that already are SQL enabled, you have SQL skills within the organization, then this tool would really, really work for you. It is a tool set that it can be installed. It is renewed in the sense of that we keep it up to date, and it can be maintained over a period of time. To give you an example, that our first customer, after we've actually productized it in 2016, picked up the product. They are still using it. Now, the interesting thing about that customer is that they are a very highly secure environment, with the result that I've delivered the product to them. They have done all of the work themselves. Now and then they ask me a question. All that I know is they are using M files in their laboratories to actually connect what is happening in their laboratories with the required documentation in M files and the interaction that it plays. But they've done all of the development themselves in terms of how they use it. So it is. We've been keeping up with the developments in M files, with all the version changes in M files, and use the APIs extensively. We use the COM APIs, not the web services APIs in the tool. It is really a proven, reliable tool. It is used throughout the world in pretty much about every continent. There are users of it. There are several resellers, such as DocSmart, which has really embraced it and built the capability of using it for their customers. And therefore, so there's several resellers that have multiple clients, but there are also others that have single clients, and then also customers directly that uses this product. And if you ask me what is the specific areas that they're using, I'm going to come to that. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We've been a MFiles certified application partner right from the start. MFiles has a program that basically certifies the application developers, and we've been part of that development process right from the initiation of that in the 2016-2017 timeframe, and we are still a certified partner. The tool is very flexible. It can operate both in the cloud. It is certified and approved. We just about a week ago got the approval for the latest release for the cloud. So it is a new cloud enabled. You can use it on premise. You can use it in a hybrid environment, and it has tons of applications that you can actually utilize with that. I actually want to just show you what you get. And maybe a good place to start, I'm going to just quickly jump out here into a Google Chrome. So effectively, if you go onto our website, then you'll find the resources there. You'll find MFSQL Connector there. No, that's not what I've intended. Let me just open that properly. Now that is in my way. So let me see whether I can move that around. So why? I've now had this control panel of Teams in my way. So let me just see whether I can manage to move this screen. There we are. So the MFSQL Connector, I can go to my download page. You can download the software there. You can see that it's pretty up to date. We've just released the latest release, and this release has functionality that have not existed in the past. So it is very exciting. I'll show one or two little things of that. But we are regularly publishing new releases, looking at new functionality, responding to things in M files, looking at bug fixes and improving the product overall. In the year, you also can find, for instance, the installation guide. The installation guide is public, so you can actually go and look at it, and we keep it up to date. You will find there details about all the procedures and tables and the usage of that. There is blogs written about usage, how to use it, and with practical examples of the different types of usages that you can get for it, and information about the product, installation guides, and so forth and so forth. You can just search for it and find the information that you're looking for. So that is available. There are some videos and the likes on the website. So there's a good resource in terms of it. But when you install M files, you basically install it both on the SQL server and on the M file server. They can be on the same server. If you install the product, for instance, on the M file server, it would load a Vault application into the system. This is where the license resides, but this Vault application also enables communication from M files to SQL. So it's a very important part of the communication process. And this Vault application has some configurations in the configuration tab where you effectively can validate the license. You can check the connection. Now, this one is not yet connected because it hasn't yet been configured. So this is a new installation. But if you go and look at another installation, for instance, the one that we will be demonstrating with, let me just go to the configurations page. Then you'll see that in the configuration page there, it shows that it is actually connected to it. There's some configuration settings for it. If you effectively work in the cloud, you will connect not through the ODBC connection. You'll connect through a web service to actually have a web service connection to the cloud. The settings here, this is new for the people that's looking at this and saying, hey, what is going on there? This is about the task management system that is now ready to do concurrent task processing. So it is a fantastic new capability that has just been released. And then also this allows you to do logging for the events that is basically happening in MFile. So here's the configuration. This is not all the configuration of the tool. There's also lots of configuration that takes place on the SQL side. But this is what you get in M files when you do the installation, and you'll also install it here. So on the SQL side, when you do the installation, here's my SQL server. And if I basically just go back. So after I chose to not necessarily do the installation on the presentation because it actually just takes time. So this has just been installed for this demonstration. When you have the when it's installed, it actually loads a bunch of tables that effectively house the structure, the metadata structure, logging, different types of operations, the class metadata, all of those type of tables that is already being set up, and the system will generate also some of the tables as we go along. It also has some views that we've set up that helps with a couple of perspectives, but you can obviously include your own views, and particularly if you are doing reporting, and you'll see if we go into our demonstration database that there is a lot of other information already in that vault also. And then there's also all the procedures. Now, this is the procedures that you would use to effectively build into your own procedures, to execute them, to perform different operations, you know, to delete objects or to export files, or you know, to do all sorts of things. This is the procedures that you will be using to do that. And all of this is brought together by effectively the assemblies. Now, the assemblies is a CLR packages that uses the MFiles APIs. Here you can see we're loading the MFiles APIs into SQL, and this is the heart of what we call the wrapper, where all of the APIs is being applied to actually facilitate the communication between MFiles and SQL. So this is what has been installed. So once it is installed, you can actually do and it has been licensed, you can do a Vault connection test, and that would allow you then to see whether it was successful, where it is connected, and all of that type of thing. So from here on, I'm going to move away from this native installation because we will be working with another data set to you know, to illustrate some of the things that I want to do. I just want to make another comment, and that is that there's a one-to-one relationship between a vault and a database. You know, so my vault, my MFiles vault that I've created and installed it in, and the database that I have here. And this is nothing to do with the MFiles instance, database instance. That can be on the same server, it can be on a different server. We don't care whether it is SQL or whether it is Firebird, but and we do not integrate directly into the database. We always work through the APIs for all of the communications and everything that we do. So you use a standard MFiles login and a standard MFiles user to communicate from SQL to MFiles. So all of the security profiles that MFiles provides is built into the communication between SQL and MFiles. Let me move back to my presentation. Just want to see where I am at. I'm on a different server. This, I guess, is that server. So back to my presentation. So this is effectively what you get. Now, the next part of it is, did I jump? No, I didn't jump. So what is it being used for? What do you do with it? What can you achieve with it? Now, if I look at all of the customers that is using it, I don't think there's two of those customers that is using MFSQL Connector in exactly the same way. They use exactly the same infrastructure, but they're doing different things with it. And over time, it morphed into almost like groupings of functionality that I want to talk about. And the three groupings is accessing the data, reporting, you know, just exchanging data. That's the first grouping that I'm going to talk a little bit about. And the next grouping is working with the data, manipulating it, managing it, you know, understanding it better, getting cleaning it and all of that type of operations in terms of managing the metadata. And then the final layer of applications is really using MFSQL Connector as middleware between M files and any other applications. I'm going to talk about those three, and I'm going to show you around a little bit in terms of some of this. Let me start with reporting. And we have several cases, many cases, where MFSQL Connector wasn't the original or the first reporting tool that the company has used. They started off with mFiles reporting tool or another tool to actually do reporting, and eventually got to saying, well, that doesn't suit us any longer. Let us use MFSQL Connector. And in what I'm going to say to you now, you'll understand better why they've made those choices. So the MFSQL Connector reporting functionality wasn't the main target when we started with the development. But what we found is because we have all of the information, we extract it and we can actually work with it. And it suddenly in SQL, people found it very valuable. And we started then to realize that MFSQL Connector is a very powerful tool just purely for reporting. And it happens that many companies are just using it for reporting, not for not for integration or to actually do more with the tool. I would like to encourage those people to effectively realize that they have much more at hand that they can use the tool for, but they use it for reporting. It's faster and it is more effective in its interaction. Why do I say so? First of all, is that you can have both static and interactive reports so that you can work with those reports in a much more dynamic way. Let me try to illustrate that. So what I'm going to do is, it looks like my mFiles have closed. So I'm just going to start off my mFiles. By the way, I'm actually using a workstation here to do this part. So I'm not working on the servers. I may actually pop into the servers for it, but I'm just using a workstation to do. We're going to use an mFiles client. It is a CRM-based client. So the Vault is a CRM-based Vault. And this has a framework of different applications of MFSQL Connector for illustration purposes. When you open the client, you have some of the features of mFiles that is making its appearance. For instance, you have a button here on the left-hand side. If I use that button, it opens a menu. That menu allows me flexible. I can actually do any, have, any structure of this menu, and the operations that is behind it is basically, it's a button that triggers a SQL operation. So I can effectively a SQL operation or a web operation. So I can, for instance, go directly to a website by just using this button. This has actually nothing to do with mFiles data, but it just makes it easier for people if they want to go to a specific website, maybe their own website, something else that they want to inside of mFiles, just get that capability of going out. Or you can go into another system. So we have set up just another database as our sample ERP system that runs in the background. So you can go in straight out to that ERP system, and we will, hopefully it will come up. And this is just based upon the one of the trial databases of mFiles that are not mFiles, but of SQL that we are just working with the data sets that this is as our illustration for an integration with ERP. Or you can link it to go straight into Power BI Home, or, and I'm not going to press all those buttons, or reporting. And my aim now is to actually talk a little bit about reporting. So I'm going to kind of focus a little bit on that. If I press that button, it goes to the API, to the web services, and I am directly in Power BI, and I can work with my Power BI here. What I haven't yet set up this to actually use or publish to the web, so I'm not going to use the web interface. I'm going to use the desktop interface, and I just want to get to my reports so that I can open them if I am right. So I'm going to open this sales target that I picked up with the link, but I'm going to open it from my desktop version of Power BI. Now you can use MFSQL Connector is not a report designer. It is a data provider. So effectively, you would use Power BI or whatever tool you want to use, Quick or Tableau or anything of that you can use for for your reporting. Power BI is something that has permeated through many companies and being used everywhere, and it is just slow. So we'll just give it a chance to make its way. So effectively, to make the report work, you will use the data in MFSQL. You'll create maybe a view or a method of identifying the information that you want to use. I'm going to illustrate that in a second to you, and that would come through into your report. And I am annoyed because I've just put a whole new feature in here earlier today, and it's not saved. I do apologize for that. I'm going to talk about it, but I can't illustrate that to you. I do sincerely apologize for that. I've had a crash.
Sorry, Laura, just Marina's got a question there. Do you have any customer integrated to Extrinsic Informer?
Doesn't ring a bell.
I haven't heard of it either.
Is that a report designer, or what is it? Is it like an application system?
It's a business tool, very similar to Power BI that we are using, and we are integrated our membership database with that business tool.
Is it SQL based? Is it web based, SQL based?
It's web based, that's for sure. But and use different format of data, that's for sure.
Okay, so for MFSQL Connector to be productive for you, you'll have to get that data into a SQL platform. So either using the APIs of that system to pull the data, or if you can point to their data, using SQL, because SQL can in itself can actually do integration to a huge variety of different applications, then you can use that channel to actually get it from that third party into SQL. Once you have it in SQL, you can use MFSQL Connector then to effectively communicate and update and and do what you want to do with the MFOLS data. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the reporting. So effectively, if you now go and look at the other side of the report, and if you go to that database, you'll see that there are some custom views to actually generate the data that is going through to the report. So if I just show you this script. So this script actually do all of the hard work in terms of the assembling the calculations that we are seeing in the quarterly calculations and the likes that we are doing. But where is that data coming from? So that data is coming from a variety of different tables, from the employee table, coming from another view, the year view, the month view, and from the opportunity table. So if we go and look at the opportunity table, and let's just go and look at it separately. I want to actually point out something very important for you there. MF opportunity. I would help if I have a from in there. So there's my opportunity information that is coming from M files. Now, if you've ever built views from the reporting tool, or you have built any views for M files, you will notice, you'll know that M files is strongly related to IDs for objects, and therefore, if you want to actually get the account, you need to get the account ID, and then you need to go and look up the account name in a different table to actually get the label for it. Our tables is much easier to use because we've chosen to effectively have the label and the ID so that you can in the same table. So it's much easier to effectively, the table is much flatter and much better usable for reporting. Now, I'm not going to go and into a deep explanation of the SQL logic, but what I wanted to highlight is the fact that you can now extract that data. So the question is, how often can I extract the data? You can choose how you want to get that data. For instance, you can choose to update it with a schedule to say every hour, every day, I want to update that table. And it only updates the differential, not the, it will find only the changed records, not necessarily like in the reporting tool where you need to every time dump the previous data and refresh all the data for the to have the latest information on the tables. But you can also do it by way of one of these actions. So I can actually say, I want to update the reporting data. And if I do updating my reporting data, and I and then go back into my my report, if I now refresh, then effectively my last execution date will change based upon the fact that it will show me what was the last time that was executed. This is all has been around for quite some time, and the next thing that I want to highlight is something that is now pretty new in the latest release, and that is where we have the capability to effectively almost instantly update data. Now, unfortunately, I can't show it to you on the report because that's what I built into this report, and I've not saved it when I closed it, so bad developer, but that is why it's a live demonstration, and you're faced with all of the consequences of it. And nevertheless, I'm going to actually show you the basic infrastructure for it. Go into MFiles admin. There's my vault. On the vault, I have an event handler. The event handler says on creation, well, this is after creating a new object. I have a created event there, and I have a piece of code that we provide, and there's very few things that you need to change, maybe just the class name, the MFSQL Connector ID, and all that you need to change is the action that you want to perform for that. What then happens is that when you create a new activity, it calls the SQL procedure to update that activity, and you have that information almost immediately in your report without having to do any other refresh. Now, this works very well in a case, for instance, where you have work order management or like activity management or something like that, which people consumes in the report on a constant basis to deal with. So the reporting tool provides in a variety of different ways that you can update the data, that you can interact with the data. And there is also a tool that in Excel, if you work in Excel, that you can actually push the information from Excel back into MFiles by using a tool called Interject, which I'm not going to illustrate today for you, but we would love, if you're an Excel user, I would love to actually illustrate that to you at some point in time. I want to go back to my presentation and just highlight that another feature of it is that you can download the event log and interrogate the event log in SQL, but because you now have the event log and also the metadata in the system, you can actually combine that data. And you can, for instance, you can say, okay, I want to say all of the events that has taken place for a particular customer on particular document types, because you have that combination of data in the system that you can use for. I'm going to hasten myself because I see that we're moving on with time. I'm going to talk a little bit about manipulating and managing with MFSQL Connector. Now, again, if I go back into my SQL base, then because of the fact that I have all of the metadata, I can actually interrogate that. So if I do select from one of those views that we've created, which is called the metadata structure, this view is a view that is a collection of all of the structure in a single entity. But if I look at it from a different angle and say, okay, where property equals account. So what this means is I can actually go and look at where in which classes are my property account being used. So there I can get all in this vault. This is all of the classes where this property is being used. And you can combine, you can have multiple properties, you can look at it from different angles, but now you can do a discovery into the structure of how the vault is being used. I can turn this on its head and I can say instead of doing that, I can effectively say, I want to see where the class property, because it's also a class, not just a property, is being used. Is that I want to see all of the properties that is being used in that class. And now I get a listing of all of the properties. I can actually see if it is a value list and which value list that is being used for it, and whether it is actually a object or a lookup like a business unit. So I can see all of that information to get a better understanding of how properties and classes and value lists and all of the workflows and everything is being used in the system. So that's one thing, is exploring the metadata is very dynamic and easy to use. But I've already shown you the table structure, so you can also use this table structure to explore the tables. It's easier to work with, but you can also do updates from here. So if I effectively want to say, okay, let me use account. I think I'm going to use account as for my example. So here's my accounts, and I have various accounts here that is in M files, and I think here's something called a billing note. So I want to update one of these billing notes from SQL. So let's do that. We'll just say update. So let's just identify a record there that we want to update. So let's just say we want to get the object ID and the name or title and the billing notes for where the object ID equals, just let's see where 67 is there. Where? So yeah, so there's a record that I can work with. I can see the billing note is null. So let us basically do an update there. We'll just say update. This is standard SQL. So let us just, so very important is to set a process ID when you want to do an update. So we're going to set the process ID to 1 to indicate that I'm doing an update from SQL to M files. And I'm going to say I want to change the billing notes. And I want to say this is monthly. And I just need to finish my instruction from account, and I've used the alias where object ID equals 67. And if, why doesn't it, maybe my invalid name, oh, MF account, that's the reason for it. You should have told me. So the record is up to date, updated here. But if I go and look in the M files, it will not be there because I first need to give an instruction to update it. So SB MF update table, and it has a whole bunch of parameters that you can add. But in this case, I only need to have 2 parameters. I need to have the table name and the update method. So I'm just going to use a shorthand for it. I'm going to say MF account. And the update method is 0. 0 means from SQL to M files. And I execute that. It runs through and it updates the record. If I just want to get the name of the client so that I can go and search for it. And effectively, there's my account. And my billing notes are being updated. Now, this is a very simple illustration, but that means that you can push information, you can pull the information from M files, you can analyze it, you can use SQL Power to do that, and you can update the information afterwards. You can change classes, you can delete records, you can destroy records, you can change data types, all of those different types of things you can do with it. This is all about the power of managing your metadata, data cleansing, importing files, exporting files. All of that is possible with the tool. If you go back to my presentation, just focusing a little bit around the integration, I would say that if you have an environment where on the one side, as I've just highlighted to Marina, the key is, can your third-party application communicate with SQL or does it use SQL? If it uses SQL, you're really in a strong position. If it can communicate with SQL, you can make it work. And then you effectively have a scenario where you can then use MFSQL Connector to deal with all of the integration from that point into M files. Now, I realize that M files have the external connector to a database. Many people use it. It is a very powerful tool. However, when you get to a point where there is dependencies, like for instance, you need to create another object which you need to reference in the object that you're trying to import, and you need to create a value list at the same time, and you need to do conditional type of things. All of those type of scenarios says you're not going to be able to do that with the database, the standard database connector. It just runs out of steam. And because you have the capability of doing all sorts of operations in SQL, either before or after the integration, you can tie that all together. Now, lately, we've been actually using this whole integration process to do a lot of validation. Let me give you an illustration. For instance, in the approval process for purchases, it is a requirement to have certain prerequisite documents that need to be in place before the invoice can be approved. And MFIles is not very good at telling you that something doesn't exist. I don't know whether you've discovered that, but you can find something that exists, but you can't find something that doesn't exist. So to actually do that, you need to program, and you can do that in SQL, and then find out whether it has the document requirements met. For instance, if the approver need to have a certain limit, and it need to look at the value in the invoice to actually determine that, then you can do all of that pre-work in SQL, and then you can update the record based upon the outcome of that condition. You can block it for approval, you can give a message back, all of those type of operations you can do. So it's not just about getting data from one place to another place, it's also about using the power of SQL to effectively enrich the controls, the prerequisites, the feedback, all of that you can actually achieve and do. There are many reasons to use MFSQL, and what we are encouraging and finding more and more is that users are starting to engage with MFSQL to do some ad hoc inquiries. Oh, I need to know this. I've had this question from users to actually do this. How can I find that out? And we're getting more and more of those type of questions, and 99% of the time, it's something that we can help them to actually point them in the right direction to do that. If you don't have the SQL skills, we can support that. But that brings me to the last thing that I want to answer, and that is, why would you use it? What does it actually give to you? Why is it a benefit? Well, in the first place, I think MFSQL Connector absolutely helps you to unlock the value of your vault, not only for specific applications, but in a broader sense. Because the fact that you do not have to go and resort to APIs, and you can use skills that is much more available in the marketplace, it just lowers the cost. To basically, if you have a change of properties in a vault, and suddenly now you need to go back and redevelop, you're going to need to go back to the developers to actually change the .NET code for the changes in the structure of the vault. It's very costly. MFSQL Connector deal with that type of scenarios much easier and at a much lower cost. And therefore, your development time actually getting up and running to actually achieve something is significantly lower, and certainly much more focused in terms of dealing with the problem that you're trying to solve, not the code that you need to generate. And the big benefit is that many companies have SQL as part of their skill set in the business because they're already using SQL, and therefore you can use that knowledge. That's more or less what I wanted to say. I've also added our contact details. I spoke about the website and the documentation site. You can register directly on the website. If if you're a DocSmart client, I will connect again with DocSmart on that. We will help you to get going, to put in a free trial and see how it can meet your particular use case. Obviously, also your first point of call is just to go back to Graham, to Trev, and talk to them about your case, and they will connect with us to give you and them support to make it all happen. With that, any questions or any thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if we can just maybe go out to the audience to see if anyone wants to ask any questions. One of the things that we've found with MFSQL is that it just simplifies something that might be quite complicated. An example for us is that we had a client that their ERP system went through a major upgrade, and they changed all their IDs, basically object IDs, in the ERP system without telling anyone. And of course, mFiles then was connecting to the ERP, and it didn't work because it was looking for certain IDs and they'd been changed. So Roux was able to very quickly go in and use MFSQL to marry them up. So go and say, it used to be this ID, now it's this ID, and then connect mFiles seamlessly back in, and everything was working fine. Now that would have been really quite a considerably difficult task without MFSQL. And Lou's amazing skills. So yeah, anyone sort of have any questions? We haven't got a lot of time left, but welcome to take questions if you do have any. Good. Okay, so I think really it's about solving business problems, and the idea of the webinar today was to give you an idea of how it works and what it can do. Some of you won't be SQL skilled people. I find it quite interesting to see how SQL works sometimes. And also mFiles Administrator, some people might not be that familiar with that particular tool, but yeah, really great to see the potential of the product. It's not expensive, happy to provide pricing. I think it might even be on Lou's website. And it's just a really great tool to add on to do all of those sorts of things. So I guess we'll end it there and say thank you, Roux, and thank you everybody for attending.
That's great. I want to just on the pricing side, I just want to emphasize that from a ongoing usage, it's a subscription pricing, but there is also what we call a rental model for short-term use. So if you're in a situation like the situation that Trev has mentioned, in terms of, I just had to solve this problem. I don't want to use the product, for anything else. I just want to solve this problem. There is a rental model that you can effectively engage with, and once you've used it and solved the problem, you don't have to continue to pay for the product.
Are you saying something there, Claire? You're muted. Oh, okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone. We'll wrap it up there, and yeah, really.